Hi, it's Dwyer, September 1st, 2023. GamblersAdvisory.com, a free site. BettingAngle.us, a free site. Let's talk about the rematch. Liam Smith versus Chris Eubank. But first, remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Now, the bet I like here is the underdog and KO victim, loser of the first fight, Chris Eubank, to win this fight. You're getting him at about a plus 120, right? You're not going to put a kid through college with this money because we're going to hedge it. And the hedge is important here. The hedge is the under 10.5 rounds, right? I do believe if Liam Smith is to win this fight, it will likely be by stoppage. Let's talk about it. First, just logistically, in my opinion, one man's opinion, Chris Eubank does much more than Smith in terms of boxing, right? There is life outside of the pocket, right? I want people to contrast Canelo's fight against Liam Smith, where Canelo knew where to find Smith. Smith is right there in front of him in the pocket, with Canelo's fight against Dimitri Bivol, where Bivol is roaming around. Canelo has to lift his feet to find Bivol, isn't able to load up on punches because Bivol is a natural mover, right? Just understand that Eubank has a skilled back foot. He's adept on his back foot, and he can live outside the pocket, right? I don't believe that's a skill that Liam Smith really has. Let me also say, too, that defensively, Chris Eubank is a risk taker. Cost him in the first fight. He will drop his hands and rely on moving his upper body to dodge shots, right? It allows him, quite frankly, to fight faster. So rather than have a hand here all the time and then to move the hand back and throw it forward, a Chris Eubank will have the hand cocked and will dodge your shot by leaning back and then will be able to just lean into you. Right, I believe Eubank is much more advanced defensively. Let me also say, too, I believe Eubank has a special skill. I believe he's great at sequencing. If he can land the first punch, he'll risk a shootout. He's willing to trade if he thinks he has caught you unprepared in an awkward situation. Right? This is not the same Chris Eubank who I bet against for two of his losses. Billy Joe Saunders, I believe that video's still up, and George Groves, I believe that video's still up. Eubank has kept growing his game. Eubank now is a different fighter. He's a complicated fighter. I view Eubank as one of the more skilled fighters in the sport. But, and let's be real here, you need the under 10.5 round hedge. Understand, this takes you to the midway point of the 11th round. I'm astonished that the over-under is this high, given that the fighters have been in the ring together already, and Smith got the stoppage. I believe this is a casino mispricing. Understand, Smith has a punch. Let me say this too. I personally believe that your punch resistance has a lot to do with your body's natural weight. If you drain yourself, especially when you're older, you're going to have a hard time with your punch resistance. I believe that's what we saw in Lawrence Okolie's recent loss. Now, Eubank was 168 pounds for much of his career, right? 168. Eubank also is on the wrong side of 30, right? Folks, he's over 30. He's not as old as Liam Smith, by the way, but he's over 30. I don't like the idea of Eubank losing 8 pounds to fight at 160 pounds. I also thought he was badly hurt. Not just knocked down, but I mean badly hurt in the first fight. Right, folks? He could barely walk. He was trying to bluff the referee, and he couldn't even bluff the crowd. If you were looking at him in the ring, you thought, oh, they might stop this. Right? Eubank's punch resistance was awful. Awful. In that first fight, in the infamous round where Eubank claims he was hit with an elbow. Right? It was awful. So I have concerns about Eubank's punch resistance here. Right? I think he's the better fighter. But this is boxing. And if you can't take the shots, you can't take the shots. Understand too, and here again, I think it's a casino mispricing. Believe it or not, you're getting better than even money. Not just on Eubank to win the fight, but you're getting better than even money on the under 10.5 rounds. But I need for you to understand the risk involved, right? If either happens, because of the odds you're getting, again, greater than plus 100 on both halves of the hedge, if either happens, if Eubank wins the fight but doesn't get the knockout, or if there is a knockout by Liam Smith within the first 10.5 rounds of the fight, you're good. You make a mild profit. If Eubank wins the fight by stoppage in the first 10.5 rounds, and let me just say, these two guys don't like each other, right? If Eubank's skill is just too much, and I thought Eubank was off to a fast start in their first fight. If Eubank's skill is simply too much, and Smith gets desperate and starts walking into shots, and let's remember, Eubank has stopped people like Avni Yildirim. If Eubank gets the stoppage in the first 10.5 rounds, you're in the penthouse. But if Liam Smith wins the fight by decision, or wins the fight after the halfway point of the 11th round, you lose it all. That's the risk I'm willing to take. I expect Eubank to win this fight. I'm going to play it carefully. I'm also going to take the under 10.5 rounds. So if his punch resistance is as bad as suggested by their first fight, and if Smith, who's going to be relentless, gets the stoppage, I'm good. In fact, I'll make a mild profit as long as it's within the first 10.5 rounds. I'll make a mild profit and I'll live for another day. So I like Eubank to win, right? Yes, we're taking the underdog, and I like the under 10.5 rounds as a hedge. That's how I see it. Let me hear from you. I'm guessing, given the first fight, given the outcome, I'm guessing many people have a lot to say. I hope you say it in the comment section of this YouTube video. Thanks for stopping by.